Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Gardener. So the succulent that you're seeing right now on the screen is an echeveria. It had a very bad episode last night. So this is how it looks right now. So I was just checking this morning if everything is fine. So far it looks like there is not much serious issue to the succulent. Last night I did a little bit of maintenance of the succulent. I will be sharing the entire video in the later part, but this is how it looks. Now before the painting, this is how the succulent happened to look. It was doing extremely well. There was a very beautiful coloration on the succulent, as you can see on the right hand side. Now there was one issue which I ignored over here, and that is the succulent was quite low in the pot. This was restricting the airflow to the stem area and the root system. This is a mistake on my part. I should have raised the succulent a little bit in the pot, but it was quite pushed down. Now the reason behind this usually happens is when we tend to use a loose porous soil mix and then we tend to water it. Even though we have filled the soil completely up till the edge, when we tend to water, the soil starts to settle down and the succulent kind of gets pulled inside the pot. Now I should have changed I should have made the changes before the painting started. During the painting it was a complete mess and I had to move my succulents quite often, which I do not prefer to do. I do not like to move my succulents quite often. Unfortunately, I had to move them 2 times. The second time I moved this pot right at the back where there was not much of direct sunlight, due to which you can see the succulent has changed its color completely. From that beautiful bright intense color, it has gone to this very faded greenish color. So that was because of the indirect bright light, but that was not all about it. There were more issues happening to the succulent. That's why it is very important that if you tend to see an issue, try to resolve it as soon as possible. So this video clip is of last night. When I happened to see, I didn't wanted to take any more chance. I seen that there was a lot of drying of the leaves and there was a bloom stalk. This is the bloom stalk that was kind of affected, or I would say infected with mealybugs. Again, this was probably because of the less air circulation inside the pot. So this is how the bloom stalk looks like. It was completely infected with mealybugs. So I quickly got the pot, got into action, started to clear out all the dry leaves. The only thing that I was worried about, hope that this succulent is not rotting. And here, as you can see, a lot of dry leaves, and some of the dry leaves also have these mold growth on them. It was completely my fault. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the entire succulent out of the pot in order to check if the mealybugs have infested the roots or not. As you can see, this succulent was in this pot for a very long time. So you can see how well the root system has developed inside this pot, and there is ample amount of dry leaves. It was very difficult to clear. As you see in the image, the succulent was quite low in the pot, due to which it was almost impossible to take out the dry leaves. So they were settling in from a really long time. So now I went ahead and first cleared out all of the dry leaves, and then I wanted to check if there are any mealybugs in the root area, because that is where the mealybugs can easily attack the plant and cause a lot of issues. Thankfully, there were no mealybugs on the roots. The root ball was free of any mealybugs. That was the biggest relief, because the way the succulent looked, I thought probably the root ball would be covered with mealybugs, but luckily there were no mealybugs in the root area. The roots were completely healthy, no rot of any sort. Also, you can notice that my soil mix is very loose, it's very porous. You can see with a very gentle tap, all of the soil is getting separated from the root ball. It is not suffocating the roots. So this is how it has to be. The root has to be very free in the soil. It should not suffocate. The soil should not suffocate the roots. Another thing a lot of people had asked me is, can we cut the roots? Over here, I will be using the same pot, but I'm not going to be using the same soil, because I had seen some mealybugs on the succulent. So I'm not going to be using the same soil. And if you want to cut, you can just go ahead and cut off the roots, the older roots, if you want to put the succulent in the same pot. You do not need to be worried. Even if there is any fungus or any mold on the roots, you can go ahead and cut off the roots, but ensure that you do not cut it completely. Keep a little bunch of roots on the succulent. You do not want to completely cut it off, otherwise it will end up into a stem cutting. Now I will try and take out the lower leaves to check if there are any mealybugs. I don't see any mealybugs, but yes, definitely there is a little bit of the white mold, and that is caused because of the dry leaves that were surrounded around it. Apart from that, the succulent was quite low in the pot, so it restricted the airflow. There was not much air circulation, due to which it generated the mold or the fungus. But right now the succulent is looking absolutely fantastic. There is no issue with the stem area. The stem looks very healthy. It was just covered with a lot of dry leaves, but overall the succulent is looking fantastic. Now guys, unfortunately it's very dark, so I'll have to on the flash of the phone, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to see because the succulent has a good amount of farina, and it's going to flash back a lot of the light from the succulent. Now over here I have filled up the pot with a little bit of soil. I do not have cinnamon powder at this point of time. It was quite late to go ahead and purchase it, so what I'm doing here is I'm going to be adding a little bit of activated charcoal, because activated charcoal also tends to help in reducing any kind of mold or fungus, and then I will top it up with some more soil. I wish I had some cinnamon powder handy. It would have worked out really well, but nevertheless I can always add it later on. There is not much of an issue. So now I have completely topped it up with the soil mix, and I am going to let it sit in indirect bright light. Even though the succulent is supposed to be kept in morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours, putting the succulent out right now in morning direct sunlight will completely burn it. Another thing, we have just done some trimming of the roots, so we will not be adding any water to this pot. We will wait for probably a week or so, because the succulent is well hydrated, thankfully. I do not need to be worried. Now, as I said, you can see there's a lot of reflection because that's the farina that the succulent has. And as of now, the succulent is doing quite well. I don't see any more issues. The stem was not dark in color. It was quite fresh, even though it was covered with a lot of dry leaves, and there was infestation on that bloom stalk. Overall, the succulent is quite healthy, and it's doing quite well. So all I have to do is keep it in indirect bright light and wait and watch what's going to happen next. So I woke up, immediately came to check on the succulent. So far the succulent is doing quite well. I hope it is going to revive completely, and then I can do a very slow acclimation towards the morning sunlight so that it can get those beautiful colors back. But that is going to take a very long time. As I said, do not hurry, go very slow with your succulents. That is going to work out really well. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep propagating.